The Great Debaters Contest 2016 registration is now open. Teachers or school administrations should register on www.greatdebaterscontest.com/register.
Coming to you from this wonderful region of Kakamega, this is the Great Debaters Contest. Welcome, I'm Austin Yombok.
And I am Mariam Bashar. Today we have the debate gurus of St. Peter's Seminary and St. Monica's Chakol going head to head, and they're debating on whether cheap imports have led to the decline of local trade and industry. We'll let the debaters take the stage now. First proposer, you have 3 minutes.
There is a speaker who once said, "Give me a pivot and I'll move the world." I'm Oano Dorcas from St. Monica Chakol Girls High School, and today I'm privileged to propose the motion that says cheap imports have led to the decline of local trade and industries. Before I state out the points, I'll first begin by defining the following terms: imports, trades, and industry. What are imports? Imports are purchases of goods and services by domestic economy from foreign countries. And trade is the exchange of goods and services. And what is an industry? An industry is the production of goods from raw materials. My first point is that it has led to erosion of domestic markets and national economies, especially when there is a trade deficit. And what is trade deficit? Trade deficit is when we have more imports more than exports. Cheaper importations, like sugar, have been imported into Kenya, and this has led to the decline of some industries in our country, Kenya. Secondly, it leads to the decline of domestic industries, such as the textile industry. Cheaper importation of second-hand clothes, commonly known as mitumba, has led to the decline of textile industries in our country. We all know that we are Kenyans, and Kenyans prefer cheaper things. So most of them go for the second-hand clothes. This is a question that I'm asking the audience. Has any one of you here never, if you know you have never put on a second-hand cloth, then you have to come here and fight with me. Another point is that it has led to lack of exposure among local personnel. This is when we all know that we import doctors from India. So this is my question. If you are importing doctors from India, what are our doctors in our country doing? That is the question that you're supposed to ask yourself as an individual. From there, I would like to thank all of you for listening to me. Thank you.
Opposition, you may make your opening statements. You have 3 minutes.
I'd like to pose a question to you all present in this debate of ours. First of all, I'd like you to ask you this question. Actually, you say that these cheap imports deteriorate the local trade and industries in our country. Who say that? Actually, nobody has. And I'd like to call upon you to agree with me because, to begin with, there is this speaker, Romans Van Spiel. He was once quoted saying, "No man is an island," and actually this is true. Like just a person, an individual can't entirely depend on himself on each and every requirements he needs. He has to go out for other people so that he can support himself. All the same, to juxtapose with this internal trade, the local trade, a given country has to import these goods to promote the local trade and industries within the country. I'm Shisama Vincent Musungu from St. Peter's Minor Seminary, Mukumu. What are cheap imports? Cheap imports entail goods and services which are brought into the country. Cheap does not only entail the services only. Just as I had said, it entails both the material which compose the quality. First of all, let's talk about diversification. When these cheap imports are brought into the country, a variety of goods are available at the local market. And through this, people are able to gain access to these goods at cheaper price. And through this diversification, the flooding and conglomerization of the goods are available at the market. And by that, the local trade is promoted. Second of it all, it also brings about mutual trade relations. Currently, as you can all see and agree with me, our President Uhuru is trying to establish trade relations with other countries, the likes like China, the United States, and whatsoever. Also, through these mutual trade relations, bilateral trade agreements are created through the given countries, in that when the country is in need of a certain commodity, it can easily go for it because they have established the good trade links among themselves. Okay, let's talk about thirdly, about enterprise, or rather healthy competition. When these goods are brought into the country, those are the cheap imports. They're brought in at cheaper prices. And when they're imposed on the market, as all of you can agree with me, if I avail, this pen is worth 20 bob, and our precious judges here, they might be having an executive pen worth 100 bob. Who will go for the 100 bob pen and leave the 20 bob pen? Who? So by that, you see people go for the cheaper one. And through this, the local industries, they'll get that competition. They'll have to go back to the drawing board and reschedule themselves. And they produce a much more better quality good. And thus, through that, healthy competition is created. And these local industries, they can get a means of producing other goods and services within the country. Actually, I'd like to urge you all to agree with me that cheap imports have not led the decline of local trade and industries. With all of this, I'd like to thank you all for listening to me. With that, I rest my case. Thank you all.
Rebuttals now, beginning with the proposition. You have 3 minutes.
Like an eagle, I soar high. I don't fly with other birds. From Chakol girls is Beryl Hagai, ready to present to you. And I'm proposing this motion that says, cheap goods has led to the decline of local trade and industries. First, I want to thank my fellow opponent who has just said that people will go for the cheap pen. That is what we are trying to say, we the proposers. The only difference that you are having between us is the uniform. In fact, you should be in St. Monica Chakol because you are literally supporting us. Number 2, I think you have said that no man is an island. Well, no man is an island really, but then you cannot depend fully on your friend. Sometimes you have to also give your strength, your friend, a helping hand, but you don't entirely depend on your friends. Then it has led to erosion of domestic markets. Take an example of Mumia's Sugar Company. We all know the turmoil that Mumia's Sugar Company is going through, don't we? As Kenyans, we should really know this because it is our responsibility. In the recent past, the Kenyan government did not allow any amount of goods to be imported in the country. They were legalized and maintained. But now, in order to build strength in the social ties, the Kenyan government has decided to catch up with the Ugandan government in order to import here some goods, especially sugar. In Uganda, the cheap goods, such as sugar, from Kakira Sugar Company, has really led to people from the Mumia Sugar Company to lose their jobs. This is because normal Kenyans who are not able to get that amount of money to go for the sugar of Mumias, they'll go for the cheap goods. Second, it has led to the exposure among local personnel. We all know that in Kenya, almost the highways, the most highways used in Kenya were built by the Chinese. Well, this will lead to lack of morale for the young people who want to take courses such as engineers. Third, it has led to the decline of domestic industries, such as, take an example of the textile industry. We all know about the second-handed clothes that are imported in Kenya, commonly known as mitumba. For example, if you go for a mitumba product, you get a 50 bob shirt, and then you go for a textile industry, you get a shirt worth 200. As a Kenyan, which one will you go? Which one will you go for and support and buy? With this, I rest my case supporting this motion. Thank you.
Opposition, time for your rebuttal. You have 3 minutes as well.
Imagine if today the government banned all the cheap imports into the country. How many of us here will be able to satisfy their wants? Very few. It's only the high class. What about the low class man? My name is Wilson Misiko, and I'm honored to oppose the motion. Cheap import has led to the decline of local trade and industries. According to the policy paper published in January by the World Bank's Trade and Competitiveness Global Practice Group, it said these cheap imports are important for the low class and the middle class. How? For instance, look at the health industry. In Kenya, the drugs produced locally are very, very expensive. So the common mwananchi will have to focus when he or she is sick. He or she will spend a lot of money for treatment, and she will not have money to buy these other locally manufactured goods. But look at the parallel importation of drugs in Kenya. It helps the low and middle class be able to access the healthy facilities. How? Because these drugs are cheap, so he'll spend less money. And when he or she spends less money, he'll be able to go and buy the other locally manufactured goods. Secondly, these locally manufactured goods have promoted the local trade. How? For instance, look at these shoes. I imported it from Uganda at 500 shillings. But these shoes depends on kiwi. And this kiwi is locally manufactured. And due to the low price, there's high demand of these shoes. And this will lead to the high demand of the locally produced shoe polish. And thirdly, the cheap imported goods have contributed towards consumer protection from the exploitation of the tycoons. What do these tycoons do in Kenya? Most of them, they go to these local industries and hoard the goods. But then when the demand will be high and the supply from the local industries will be low, they'll bring back the goods to the market. And when they bring back the goods to the market, they'll put them at very high prices. But when the cheap imported goods come, the people will opt to go for the cheap imported goods and leave alone the hoarded ones that have been bought by the tycoons. And lastly, I would like to say that these cheap imports, they create employment. How? Look at the cheap imported machinery and what you've said, the mitumba goods. I'll bring them in here into Kenya, and I'll go out there and look for the low and middle class citizens who lack employment, and I'll employment to work at the machine and to sell for me clothes. Thank you so much.
The Great Debaters Contest 2016 registration is now open. Teachers or school administrations should register on www.greatdebaterscontest.com/register. The Great Debaters Contest 2016 registration is now open. Teachers or school administrations should register on www.greatdebaterscontest.com/register.
Thank you, audience, for those questions. The proposers have been asked that if cheap imports such as mitumba end up providing employment in the informal sector, then aren't they actually leading to an improvement in local trade and industry? And the opposition have been challenged that they stated imports increase the employment, but yet there's still a decline in local industries. So how then can we justify that? We'll have them respond. Proposer number 3, you have 3 minutes.
They say every dog has its day, and today it has dawned on me. I'm Patricia Emily from St. Monica Chakol Girls, and I'd like to answer to the questions. The first questions, it has been asked that about the doctors who come from India to Kenya. What she really meant was, we are importing them as a country. When each and every one of us contribute to money so that we can get the doctors from India, it becomes cheap. The second question, I'd like to answer her by this. The UK government slapped us on our faces with our Mira products when it tried to sell for them the Mira products in their country. Remember, it's not a physical slap, but an emotional and economical slap. Why don't we do the same to the foreign countries who export their second-hand clothes, mitumba, into our country by prohibiting them from stepping into this country with any mitumba product? Not that I don't mean taking revenge, but this is an advanced mode of embracing our local trade and industries. A quote from a man, a great friend of mine, Nelson Mandela, once said that, "Your deepest fear is not that you're inadequate. Your deepest fear is that you are very powerful." Let's take in that and know that we are very powerful. To stop the cheap imports which decline our industry. From what has been said, I strongly believe that cheap imports have led to decline of local trade and industry. Thank you.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes to respond to the audience questions.
We cannot develop a country just from a silver platter. We require income, we require capital. So what happens is this: should we, if I may answer the first question that was asked, how are the machines contributing actually to the development of our local industries and also to promote trade? Imagine here we are in Kenya. Our industries need machines in order to, the processing industries require machines which are used to produce these goods. How are we going to produce quality goods when you have not imported machines? Like now in Kenya, can you tell me, or can any one of you tell me of any company which does not maybe use machines from outside? For example, most of our machines we are having, let's say in the transport industry, you'll find that most of those items are written made in China. Even if you look at the vehicle engines, you'll find made in China. So these machines are used in order to make our work efficient in order to boost up our transport, transport industry. Next, I would also like to concur with my members by saying that actually these cheap imports have greatly contributed to the development of trade and local industry. This is because let us consider it this way. If we look at the taxes that are being charged on these goods when they are coming to our country, these taxes are used to develop our country. For example, the taxes can be charged on the, let's say, sugar that is coming from Uganda. These taxes can be used in order to come and develop our own companies like Mumias. We can go to West Kenya. And you see, by doing this, we are actually boosting the development of these countries. Next, again, we know very well that when these imports are brought, when we bring these imports to the country, for example, if we can sell the sugar cane that we obtain, let's say, the West Kenya. Maybe, for example, if you go and import sugarcane from Uganda, what will happen? This sugarcane is going to be used as a raw material to our industries. And as a result, we are going to do what? We are going to use these raw materials to develop our countries. And therefore, we should not just conclude that these imports that as they come to the country, they are meant to destroy the development or to lead to decline of the development of the country. This will only come just as one of the French says this way, that a thing can only become true if only we believe in it. So should we believe that these cheap imports are bringing local harms or are harming the development of our industries, then it only means that we are going to invest more on exporting rather than importing. And you know very well importation is the one that develops our country. Thank you so much.
We'll hear final submissions. Proposition, you have 1 minute.
Once again, I'm Owano Dorcas. I would like to thank my opponents who have just said that we cannot do without the machines from other countries. I would like to tell you this, that you have now learned that the machines that are useful in Kenya. You are supposed to go to those countries and get to know how those people are inventing those machines, because very soon our country will be sold to the foreign countries. Remember, a change does not come by physical action, but by mental thought. You have to think fast because you are just, I think you are, I don't know what I can call you, because I think we are supposed to open up our eyes and style up. We are Kenyans. Are you not Kenyans? We are Kenyans, and we have to see whatever the future that is just lying before us. The great Nelson Mandela once said that he cannot fear 1,000 sheep led by a lion, but you can only fear 1,000 lions led by a sheep, meaning that people no longer dwell on muscles. I want to tell you this, that never fear the Indians, never fear the whites. Stand out confidently and fight for the rights of this country, because very soon, if you are not that keen, you are going to be sold to other countries. Thank you very much.
Opposition, you have a minute for your closing submission.
This is Muliro Daniel from St. Peter's Minor Seminary. Actually, just as she has said, we do import so many machines. Let's not look at these machines from a major point of view like they are big items or what. Can we consider the communication industry? Let us look at the phones. We know very well we can't communicate without using the phones. Most of our phones here are made from China. These ones, they ease our communication sector. Actually, they are cheaply imported to our country, and therefore they help to buffer this communication industry rather than destroying them. That's why I'm requesting, and in fact, the government should allow in more of these imports that we get and services from the foreign country in order just to boost and buffer up our development, more so in these industries and also the communication sectors. Thank you so much.
Owano, very quick ones just to look into it. Good submissions, the textile industry, don't make it justify your statements, okay? And I think work on your confidence. We want to see you at the stage. Eye contact, all right? So that people at least can tell you're very confident. Burial, fair cross-examination. I love the example of the Mumias, however, work on what I've talked to. And avoid the term, we all know. We all know. It was also across on the other side. We all know. No, we don't know. That's why we're here to debate. You tell us, okay? Convince us on that. Patricia, fair as well. Vincent, what are the examples? What are these examples that you're giving us when you tell us that there is healthy competition? The question was, what are the examples, all right? Give us that so that at least we can say we relate to that. And that's what Misiko did by the Kiwi example. Good submissions as well, Misiko. Muliro, trade balance, you came to emphasize what Misiko said, but I was asking myself, can you add more? You're a good speaker, okay? Very confident as well. Do that. But all the best to the two teams. That was fair.
St. Monica's Chakol, the judges awarded you 65%. Please give them a hand. Your opponent, St. Peter's Seminary, garnered 68%, making them the winners of this debate.
Congratulations to the two teams on stage, and thank you, our studio audience, for being very active, and also our viewers back home. Keep watching and engage us on social media at Great Debaters EA. I have been your host, Austin Yombok.
And I am Mariam Bishar. We'll see you next time.
The Great Debaters Contest 2016 registration is now open. Teachers or school administrations should register on www.greatdebaterscontest.com/register.